Hello, family, friends, and neighbors, and anyone new. Come on in and get comfy, and I will tell you a story. And in this case of today, it is actually a story. I was gonna look for my glasses, but I can't find the glasses that I wanted. I was gonna do those big pink and black ones to wear because my eyes are tired. So, but whatever. This is what Will has been helping me with, trying to just not get it absolutely perfect and not make sure everything about it is good, just so that I can get some like critiques and pointers and make sure that I am reading this correctly. This book, this is the thing again that Will was helping me with that I thought would be fun to do on this channel. Something different that I don't see a ton of people doing. Maybe it will inspire other authors to do it, even though we don't like to be on camera. That's usually why we's writing. It's because we don't want to be in front of camera. But I'm just really good at faking that I'm okay with it and just swallowing all that. Although I'm open about it because, yeah, I don't care about being open about it. I'm just an open book usually about pretty much everything. I was going to show the cover of this book. It has been updated a little bit, but when I gotta stop saying, that's really obnoxious. When I plan to get this back in paperback, this is a paperback, but it's under my old version of the name, which is the short version, and I'm purposely going to cover that when I show the cover and the paperback, because I don't want someone to accidentally stumble on this video and then go looking for it under that name. So all the paperbacks, how many do I have? I have, I think, 4 or 5 paperbacks up right now that I have switched over. It's easier to switch the paperbacks when I put the ebook up for sale and then I do the paperback at once and then I get everything up. That's much easier than trying to just switch all the paperbacks over. The reason that I'm doing that is that I don't want all my paperbacks and all my work being exclusive to Amazon. It's not that Amazon is bad at paperbacks. I've recently seen some critiques, but I think that Amazon paperbacks are really good. So if you are looking to do that, the reason I'm moving them away from Amazon has nothing to do with quality. It's just so that they're not the only ones handling my paperbacks. Or I mean, all my books. What I thought would be fun would to be reading a chapter out of my books. And I'm going to start with the one that I am going to try to get into paperback next, which is Anora, especially since I have been discussing Anora a lot on the channel as of late. It's the book that I have been commenting that when I first wrote it, it was one of those books where I didn't really think it was that good of a book. I shouldn't say that. I should say that I didn't enjoy it as much as when I come up with the idea, because once I began to write it, I enjoyed writing it. I enjoyed everything about it, but by the time that I hit publish, I was basically over it. And then after, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And I have Cruz watching me. Goofy little dude. Stop saying I gotta catch myself doing that. That's obnoxious. When I published the book, a lot of people enjoyed it, and I was pretty well going, okay, I don't know why that's the big hit as of late, but I mean, once I read it back with a new, fresh brain a long time after working on it, I understood why it was enjoyed so much. I think when you are working on a book, you get so deep in it that you just keep going over it and over it and over it and delving and picking and just working. It's like staring at a word too long. You start wondering if you're spelling it correctly. You start wondering if you're saying it correctly. And it just eventually the word turns into gobbledygook in your brain and you get tired of it. So you move on. It's basically that. So this is the book that I will be reading today. And again, covering the name just so that nobody happens to look at this randomly and go, wait a minute, that's not the name that's on the stuff, or they go looking for the name and they're not finding the work, etc. But this is the book. I could show technically my last name because my last name's on the book, but I'm also I didn't make too much of a change on this, but for the cover I did also change it a little bit. I brightened it up a little more, and I think the tree that I used in the background either got changed or I adjusted it a bit. But I was trying to I love the way this cover is because it's pretty simple. It's just a horse and tree, and I purposely did that more vibranty orange kind of tone on it to be eye-catching. And it's kind of a sunsetty magic, druid, earth magic theme that I was going for with it. So I didn't really want to change the cover because I like this cover. It's pretty simple and basic, but sometimes that's the ones that work. So this is the book that I'm going to be reading from. And I'm going to just do the first chapter. This is not going to be the only book that I do in here. You okay, bug? Okay. What do you think you heard? So I hope you enjoy this, and if you do enjoy this, then let me know in the comments, and it will inspire me especially to keep doing this. So this is chapter 1 of Anora by Kimberly Sue Iverson, read by Kimberly Sue Iverson. So I have to copyright YouTube. Don't be copyright stricken me. I wrote the thing. Okay. Anyhow. Chapter 1. The sun drifted lazily through the boughs of the trees. Feeling no need to push on such a relaxing day, the rays shimmered and filtered among the feathery tendrils. A mixture of evergreens, oak, fir, pine, cedar, and even a few old redwoods. None of them competing for space, all of them working harmoniously together to create a fluid canopy of golden green. Oak leaves waved back and forth in the sunny, warm rays, which broke the solid line of subtle yellow-orange, making the light flicker along the forest floor. A few sparrows flitted here and there among the branches, catching Anora Love's attention. She smiled at the happy chittering as they spoke back and forth to one another, going about their day. As she grew closer to where they perched, the chitters shifted to a warning sound, more urgent than before, cautious, fear-filled. She reassured them by speaking more to herself than to them. "Don't worry, I mean you no harm." They seemed to understand her, though, and calmed. The woods beyond were silent, and the silence unnerving. A woodpecker brrred against the trunk of a tree in the distance, soft in the silence, which meant the distance was great. A lone sound that echoed through the peaceful atmosphere. Ahead of her, on the non-existent trail, Anora caught sight of a raven as he landed on the branch of a giant redwood. The deep red trunk burned against the deep brown of the forest floor, and the vibrant green grass she waded through. The raven reached his thick beak around and under his wing to work an itch. Some mite required attending so as not to distract. As soon as he was done, the raven resumed his watch of Anora as she rose one leg, then another. Higher than normal she stepped as she picked her way through the thick and taller than normal grass. Almost knee-high, she hoped to keep herself from tripping by doing so. I accept the earth into my veins. The male voice acted as lead weight to Anora's feet and made her stop. So fast she nearly stumbled and fell flat on her face. The voice came from behind. When she checked, there was nobody there. Nobody was following her, not a single person around the forest as far as she could tell, to disturb the silence, except for Anora. The voice hadn't sounded like it came from nearby anyway. It sounded as if it came from inside of her. I must be going insane. Now I hear things that aren't there. I embrace all that I am provided. There! Anora spun to study the floor of the forest. Then she craned her neck to study the canopy, but came up empty. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. No reason for the voice, for what she heard, where it came from. The sun struck her in the face. Blinded, she closed her eyes to regain sight. Him. It was a him. The voice held a depth of strength. She held an arm up to shield herself and reopened her eyes. The city of Grace was as she left it. The castle far behind the walls to the city loomed large and ever as beautiful. 3 towers topped with a soft purple, so near as to be silver, casting a glow over the festivities. 3 towers topped with a soft purple, so near as to be silver, casting a glow over the festivities which commenced. The banners of all families in attendance flew high above the walls, welcoming and celebrating all those who'd gathered. Anora lowered her hand as her feelings went with it. She couldn't handle it. It had not been long since Spencer pushed for a marriage she was not ready for, and push was what that man had done. How many times had he asked, as if their lives depended on a union? How many times had she said the same? Marriage does not always have to be a contract, nor about love. If I marry, it will be because we have both decided that whether there is love or not, we can grow into it. It will be a pact between friends who see that it is best for the both of them, not a decision based on a whim or an emotion. Spencer stared at her as if she was a stranger to him. That was her problem. She was. How was she to marry a man when she herself didn't know who she was? She didn't know truly what it was she wanted. He decided they would be together. He decided what was best was marriage. You cannot be alone forever, Anora. Without a husband, you are vulnerable. Let me protect you. It wasn't the right situation, but she laughed. He did not take kind to being laughed at. Spencer frowned from his towering height and slowly shook his head, admonishing her. I will not marry you. Stop asking. Anora never considered it a lifetime answer, but when the words left her mouth, she knew it was. There was love in there for him. She felt it. She was aware of it. It just felt disconnected from her. Did she think there was better? No. Spencer was as good a man as any, she supposed. That right there was her biggest problem. He didn't stand out. He worked as guard for the City of Grace. He patrolled, he saved, he rescued. Spencer was one of the rest. It made her sad when she spoke those words. Spencer simply stood there. He did not try to stop her, did not try to fight. She was there, he was there. In the end, the lack of fight in him secured her feelings. He didn't stand out. There was no passion in him, and if she wanted a marriage with him for protection, she wondered how truly much he could offer. If a dragon came down in that instance and attacked the city, what would he do? What if it were an army? He would run to the aid of the king and he would leave her. Oh, sure, after he made sure she was with the rest of the city in the bunker. But would there be passion that was unequal to any other? Would he swear his life that she would be okay, that he didn't want to leave? No. He made her feel pity more than passion. He made her feel as if she were to take care of him and protect him more than the opposite. He didn't make her feel safe. He was bound by duty and honor and nothing more. She was not even sure he loved her. Not like that. Not like she wanted. Not to the point that he would risk his life against a dragon to save her alone. She supposed that was selfish of her, to think he should go outside the rules and do anything for her. She supposed she asked too much. Maybe she didn't ask enough. When she looked back, he simply stood there, letting her leave, showing her in more ways than he could ever understand. She simply didn't matter enough. He wanted her as a wife, and that she would only be a wife. A commodity to introduce to people as no less than a chair. This is my chair, and over there is my wife. This is my house, and over there is my wife. In the same tone he'd do it, and she would die inside. Every day with him she did. He made her feel as if she was worth nothing more to him or the world than another body. She wanted more, craved more. She would have more. The sadness was there when she recalled the way he watched her. The sadness was there when she remembered the conversation. It was there when she attempted to attend the festivities. It was that sadness which let her go, that released the chains which bound her all her life. She saw him earlier in the day while she was there. Anora stood on the outskirts of the crowd. Spencer patrolled with the others, ensuring the festivities went as planned. She became a stranger in her own land, in her own world. Her spirit disconnected, and the wind brushed her cheek and chin, raising her face. A raven swept over the city of grace, and she wondered how it felt, how the air held the bird aloft, the freedom of simply letting go and trusting in what was to come. Spencer shouted at a man attempting to climb a statue of a horse for a better view of the crowd. The joy around her, Spencer, the raven, she didn't know where it came from. A lifetime she spent enjoying these days. But today it wasn't enough. Today it suffocated her and made her feel alone. So she left. Anora took a deep breath and let it out. Nobody stopped her. She left the festivities in the City of Grace for the first time in her life, knowing there was a chance she may not come back. She didn't pack anything, simply walked away from it all. Nobody would notice. Nobody would stop her. Nobody did. Nobody had. Once more she circled and studied the surrounding forest. It was so quiet out here, far from the City of Grace, full of peace and wonder, as much beauty as one could handle. She smiled again at the way the sparrows went about their business. Anora raised her face to the sun, letting the warmth settle on her skin. Would she come back? She didn't think she would. There was no interest in doing so in this present moment. Deciding that maybe the male voice had been her own mind playing tricks on her, she set about her journey once more. The sparrows chittered angrily next to her, interrupted during their play. A dried leaf crunched under a heavy weight. She sucked in a breath, aware that she was no longer alone, and sensing a large presence coming up behind her. A cloth of black erased her view. Anora went to scream when pain shot through the back of her neck as something struck her. End of chapter 1. Ooh, I got to cover my name. Almost showed it. I'll blur it out to make it all blurry. So this is Anora. I had once planned to make this into a series. I was going to call it, I think, the Druid series. Very creative, I know. Who knows? Maybe one day I will do another in this. I will never say never with stuff, because even with Dark Illusions, I had not planned to make more than one book. And we see how that turned out. I had some readers saying to me that they would love to see more of Kober. What happened with him, I believe it was. From a lot of the reader comments on that book, my brain started percolating and I ended up writing more, which is why I always say it's so important, if you enjoy work, if you want to see more, if you enjoy a certain character, if you like their story, when you want to see more of a character, just tell the author, tell the writer, tell the creator of that person, of that work, of all of it. I don't know too many who don't like feedback like that. It helps us to know people are reading. It helps us to know people are, or in this case, listening and enjoying. I love getting comments on the videos, on whatever I do. I'm not going to just strictly do stuff for writing either. I will be doing stuff for even just life. This will be focused on stories. I even considered reading stories. Like if you wanted a story of yours read and you gave me actual permission to read it for this channel, then I was considering doing that. That way, for people who don't want to be on camera, but they would love to have a story of theirs told. Even just life stories, I was considering doing. Because what I love are stories. What we all love are stories. What we love to listen to are stories of old. I loved listening to my grandparents talking about things from Norway. Loved having my grandfather tell me stories in Norwegian. Could not understand a single word he said. But I loved to listen to it. I enjoy telling stories, hearing stories, sharing stories. It's why I'm adjusting everything on even like the bios and the headers and social media information, that I am not just a novelist but a storyteller, because I like the idea of everything around stories. Movies, TV, that can be it. We all certainly need better stories to listen and watch on those. So this will be just based around stories, less than writing. It will have lots of writing help as well as story help. But I also want to share stories, so I want to be able to share a lot of stuff like that. And I plan to do more of my stories. So if you enjoyed this, obviously let me know that you did in the comments. Leave a comment. Leave a question if you like. I think I might start inputting questions in the midst of these videos. Anybody who's followed me through the years on social media knows that I like questions. It helps me learn about people, learn about different viewpoints. I love picking brains to understand people, and if you're somebody I'm close to, then I really am going to pick at your brain because it helps me understand you more. It helps me understand how you think, how you process, how to approach you. Maybe it's just my own mind, the way I work, who knows. But for me, that's how I like to get to know people more, is random stuff that I ask. So I'm thinking of doing that in these videos as well. Then I can also see who's watching the full video. I'll do it different times. I will also, it allows you to have something to answer if you don't necessarily know what you want to comment. It'll give you a little prompt to answer something. What else? There was something else I was going to mention, I think. Pardon me for holding this and any jiggles. I was going to tell you actually about the story. Anora, as I mentioned with the fact that I was going to call it a druid story, is Anora is a female druid. She has come along in a world where, yes, let's come and cry. Anora is a female druid in a world that has not been seeing any druids for a while. And she is rare because she is a female. Druids have always been men. They have passed down the knowledge. Instead of using books, they do it, person to person. And that's how they have always passed down the knowledge. But Anora seems to already have a lot of the knowledge, and you'll see in that first chapter that the animals respond to her a little different, and she talks to them a little different. Okay, switching arms, excuse me. And the way they respond to her and the way that she talks to them, you start to go, this is a little different. This is new. It's a subtle thing, but you do notice how when that mysterious black thing gets thrown over her head, the animals instant alert, no calming, instant anger, instant reactions, instant alert, like they're trying to protect her. Whereas Anora, she's just same situation, just a random entrance into that forest, and they respond completely different to her. And that sets up the entire book. All those little subtle things that you see starting to be different. So when people start floating the idea that she is different, she wants to be different, but I don't think she's really prepared for what that means for her technically. So throughout the book, she has to accept not just who she is and what she's being called to do, where that voice, she can hear that voice, and that alone is also something that is different. Who is that voice? Why is she hearing that voice? Especially as a woman, when everybody knows that druids are men. In Anora's story, there is more than meets the eye. It's not just that she is a woman that makes everything different. It's not just the animals responding to her. There's far more to her than even she or they realized. So throughout the story, we see that she has to figure something out that everyone, well, basically nobody understands, but that everyone is telling her it's not right. She's wrong, effectively. What she's thinking, what she is guessing is right is not the right path. People are not trusting her, especially because they think she's not knowledgeable, and in the arena that she faces to figure this out, no, she's not knowledgeable, but she has a deep inner guide that guides her. So she has to face a lot of obstacles, not just in learning who she is, but in figuring out the right path and finding people who will finally trust her and listen to her. And it comes in an unlikely source that she would never have guessed. That first chapter basically is all about. So I hope you enjoy the story, and if you do pick it up and read it, let me know. Besides being super tired, fixing to go have myself some of my brother's birthday cake. I made him his favorite cake yesterday. That is yellow butter cake with milk chocolate frosting. So girl gonna be having some coffee and cake shortly. I think that's it. If you enjoyed this, please leave a comment. If you just want to help boost the channel and say, hey YouTube, boost this channel, like and comment. Share with anybody you think might enjoy this. I will post the links for where to find this book down below. It is on all retailers. All my ebooks are. There's only a couple that are exclusive to Amazon, but I am in the process of getting them back out. I'm going to be releasing those wide shortly. I think it's just all of my short horror ones. I am going to be getting this in paperback next. Don't got a due date, as soon as I can. But the ebook is available. The paperbacks, all of my paperbacks, I try to include a free short story. So when you do go look at the Lulu link, I'll include that below too. Those all have a free short story, or it's a scene for that tale in the back, or it's both. I try to give a little extra in the back of my paperbacks to offset how much I have to charge for the paperbacks. My take-in for every paperback is at least $2. So if you see a super high price, I'm only actually getting probably like $2 off of it. But that's my minimum I want to make off any paperback, because, you know, I want to make a living. But that way, when I have to raise the price, it allows you to get something more for your buck, since I don't have to pay that much more for including a short story in the back, because it's usually only like a couple pages, and that doesn't make a huge difference in cost. But it just gives you more bang for your buck. And I think it's fun to have all that stuff. I love going in the back of paperbacks or hardbacks and see what else is there. So I hope you have a really great day. I hope you are able to indulge yourself in a little extra treat, whether it be, for me right now, it's rare that it's cake. Usually I don't eat that much sweet stuff. Or I hope that you are able to offer something sweet to somebody else, whether food or just a smile or a hug or a how are you. It always is nice here to say hello to strangers and to smile, to ask how they are, to offer compliments. It boosts everybody around you. And I hope you have a wonderful day and that you have enjoyed listening to this. I have enjoyed reading this for you, and I hope to see you soon. More to come. For whatever reason, I just like short and dumpy cruise. Guess we're going with short and dumpy today. Hi. Gotta remember, do what I was doing. Okay. Shimmered and filtered amongst the feathery tint. But I thought that this would be a one of Anora by moi, Kimberly Sue Iverson, read by moi, Kimberly Sue Iverson. So I have the credit. So I have the permission to read this. Okay.